Who am I? Who am I? I am the descendant of a Revolutionary War soldier who lost his arm in battle while hoping to make this country independent. Who am I? I am a relative of John Adams, a founding father and second president of the United States, who said, "Government is instituted for the common good, for the protection, safety, prosperity, and happiness of the people, and not for profit, honor, or private interest of any one man, family, or class of men." Who am I? I am the descendant of immigrants from Ireland, Sweden, and England. Who am I? I am the descendant of a Union soldier who, after immigrating to this country to seek a better life, fought for the civil rights of others. Who am I? I am a woman from Alaska, a red state, with parents who always instilled in me a sense of the necessity to fight for what is right, to stand up for civil rights of others. Who am I? I'm a white female with a graduate degree and a professional career living in Oregon, a consistently blue state. Demographically, I fit the description of a Hillary Clinton supporter and voter. Who am I? I, like too many others, am a survivor of sexual abuse. While my history of sexual abuse does not define me, my history, all of my history, shapes who I am. This is who I am, and this is my story. When Trump initially announced his candidacy, I laughed. I laughed even harder when he started winning primaries. I was shocked, actually. What were people thinking? When he won the Republican Party nomination, I was sure Hillary had it in the bag. There was no way someone who had said such hateful, hurtful things could possibly be voted into office. I took his candidacy as a joke, but this was no joke. In early October 2016, the infamous Entertainment Tonight tape with Trump's saying, "Grab them by the pussy," was released. Many GOP leaders once again tried to distance themselves from the GOP presidential nominee, the man who had made these disgusting remarks. This incident brought the issue of sexual abuse to the forefront of the campaign. It invoked feelings in many women who were survivors of sexual harassment or sexual abuse. The dialogues that arose from the tape opened the eyes of many people and allowed us to recognize the extent of misogyny in this country. It also made many of us realize that our previous situations were sexually abusive. We declared ourselves, stating, "It happened to me. This is real." I am one of those women. While I had known the relationship I was in prior to the one with my husband was abusive, I never fully examined the extent of my abuse. Honestly, I was happy to have left the relationship behind me and move on. I was proud of my growth and of the fact that I had moved past the pain of my previous relationship. The events of this election, Trump's remarks, and the discussions surrounding the infamous tape all brought the negative memories and feelings from the abuse flooding back. Women who accused the candidate of sexual assault or harassment were told they were lying. They were told they should let go of things that had happened decades ago. Survivors were told their sexual assault experiences weren't that big of a deal. But to us, to survivors, sexual trauma is a big deal. Hearing Trump speak in the video, listening to the dialogue the video brought about, listening to so many women speak up about their own experiences with sexual abuse, harassment, and rape all led to my realization that not only had I been the victim of sexual abuse, but I had also been the victim of rape. I am a rape survivor. In 2003, I was living outside of Portland, Oregon, and started dating a man. We seemed to have a lot in common, but having things in common does not prevent sexual abuse. It does not stop a man from being a predator. A man who was supposed to care about me forced himself on me. I said no. He did not listen. He raped me multiple times. Looking back, I see that that should have been the end of the relationship. As happens in so many abusive relationships, I did not leave. The abuse continued. At the time, I blamed myself. I felt vulnerable. My mom asked me later, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" Well, I was ashamed. I thought he cared about me and must be attracted to me. I did not want to acknowledge what was happening. This could not be happening to me. This only happened to weak people, and I wasn't weak. I was a self-proclaimed strong, independent woman. I was educated. I was professional. Sexual abuse doesn't happen to people like me. But it did. The abuse continued until wonderful, supportive friends helped me understand that I needed to end the relationship. Shout out to Tamika and Lori. From day one, they said I should have ended this relationship, and they were there for me at the end, too. They helped me see it for what it was, though I never fully told them the extent of what he did to me. They simply saw the emotional toll the relationship was taking on me. I have moved on now and have an amazing, supportive husband, 2 beautiful boys. But with the introspection sparked from this campaign, I realized that if rape and abuse can happen to me, someone who considers herself still strong and independent, it can happen to anyone. This realization has made fighting for women's rights a visceral urge, a calling. I have to fight for the rights of all women so this doesn't happen and continue to happen. As October continued, for the first time in my life, I went to my local Democratic Party office and purchased campaign signs for my yard. I had to do something. I wanted to do something even more tangible. I volunteered at the phone banks. I donated to Hillary's campaign like so many others. I thought I might make a difference. Even though I thought there was no way Hillary could lose to a person focused on fighting social media wars and putting down anyone who said anything that went against him, a little voice in my head made me tremble with fear. What if the polls aren't right? Fear coursed through my veins as I realized Trump supporters were believing the fake news spewed about Hillary Clinton. It became clear they weren't looking at credible sources or fact-checking. As I heard them speak, I fully recognized the extent to which misogynistic, xenophobic, racist, and homophobic undertones were saturating our society. It was no longer a what if, it was reality. I was shaken to my core. A bomb had dropped, and an entirely new and horrifying reality was exposed. 11 days before the election, James Comey, the director of the FBI, sent out a letter about looking into Hillary Clinton's emails again. And I thought, oh shit, he just handed the election to Trump. I looked up the Hatch Act, something I'd never heard of before. See, we're learning all these new things, Hatch Act, emoluments clause, all these new terms coming out of this election. The Hatch Act prevents employees of the executive branch of the federal government, with the exception of the president, vice president, and certain other designated officials, from engaging in political campaign activities with the intent to interfere with the results of an election. And here we were, looking into how Director Comey, a known GOP supporter, was interfering in a United States presidential election. Despite this, polls were still strongly in Hillary's favor. I thought, thank God, people still know how bad Trump is. On the day of the election, I put on my pantsuit and wore it proudly. I took a photo of my 2 young boys in front of my Hillary Kane yard sign. We bought Blue Star helium balloons that we proudly put on our yard sign and outside our house. My dad and I actually also took some of those helium balloons, and we went on a little march from my house to the Democratic office of Washington County, which is about a little over a mile from my house. So we marched all the way down carrying these helium balloons and dropped them off at the Democratic Party office. Little side note. We bought champagne. I was ready for the glass ceiling to be shattered. Oregon votes by mail, so we had voted several weeks earlier. However, I was already hearing stories about early voting in other states where people were either being turned away at the polls or felt intimidated. That little voice of fear spoke to me again, but I was naively optimistic. We had this in the bag. I mean, there was no way Trump would get voted in. No way. Like many others, I walked around in a daze following the election. Daze, depression, I don't know what you want to call it. A dear Jewish friend told me several of her Jewish friends thought they might need to leave the country. A dear Muslim friend said she was afraid to leave her house in her hijab. My experience was not like theirs. The only thing that makes me a target of this hate is my gender. But I still felt despair. I still felt desperation. I still felt anxious, and I kept thinking, how did this happen? When the CIA confirmed that Russia had helped manipulate our election and that Republican members of Congress serving on the Senate Intelligence Committee knew about this, fury filled my soul. The entire democratic process was betrayed. The United States had been played, and the citizens, especially those who are marginalized, would be the ones to suffer. With all of the information that has come out, with Trump's beyond controversial actions, including sending social media posts of lies that plummeted the stocks of an American company, and of lies about a private citizen that led to death threats for a union leader and his family, and communicating with foreign leaders without security briefings, and communicating with leaders who are not recognized by the United States, It is shocking that there hasn't been more outcry from the Senate, Congress, and the leaders of both parties. We have been betrayed. Trump's actions have serious and dangerous implications, and yet the Republican Party is still behind him, despite his committing acts that many consider treasonous. With that, my only thought is, God help us all. It is now up to the citizens to ensure we protect one another. We uphold civil rights. We stand up. We fight. We love. We support. We are on the right side of history, and we need to leave a legacy for our future generations so that they can be proud. Together, we make the difference. Okay, that's my story.